Hey everyone, welcome to Think Tangle, your channel where we break down everyday events and relationships using the big ideas from philosophers and psychologists. And today, we're going to talk about the most recent events between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Intro: the bromance unraveled. Alright, so the whole public spat between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, which everyone's calling the breakup, has totally grabbed headlines worldwide. What started as this wild, unexpected friendship has totally blown up into a super bitter, super public war of words. But this isn't just some political or business drama. It's actually a pretty cool way to peek into basic human behavior and power plays through the lenses of philosophy and psychology. So, Elon Musk, the tech wizard, and Donald Trump, the super polarizing political figure, were initially pretty tight. Musk even gave Trump his full support after an assassination attempt back in July 2024. That moment really seemed to cement this unexpected bromance. And it got deep fast. Musk was even named an unpaid presidential advisor, heading up something called the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. You could totally see how intense their relationship was from all the public stuff. Musk was seen jumping around behind Trump at rallies, flying on Air Force One, chilling at Mar-a-Lago, and even rocking a MAGA hat at cabinet meetings. Trump himself was gushing about Musk, calling him one of the greatest business leaders and innovators the world has ever produced, even giving him a warm send-off from the Oval Office on May 31st, 2025. But then, this super powerful alliance just blew up as dramatically and publicly as it started. The whole thing kicked off when Musk trashed Trump's big beautiful bill, which was this massive tax and spending package. Musk didn't hold back, calling it outrageous, pork-filled, and a disgusting abomination. Trump's comeback was instant and public, saying he was very disappointed in Elon, and even suggesting Musk had Trump derangement syndrome. Things escalated super fast, with personal and political threats flying around, including Trump saying he'd cut government contracts and subsidies for Musk's companies like Tesla and SpaceX. Musk hit back with some wild claims, saying Trump wouldn't have won the election without his help, and even more shockingly, that Trump's name was in the Epstein files. The financial hit was immediate, with Tesla's stock tanking over 14%, costing the company and Musk billions. This whole beef, which played out live on social media, is a rich case study for understanding how people interact, form alliances, handle conflict, and throw their weight around. Throughout this video, we're going to dig into how theories like social identity, cognitive dissonance, attribution theory, Foucault and Nietzsche's power dynamics, Habermas's public sphere, Aristotle's rhetoric, and even some narcissism stuff can help us unpack the craziness of this breakup. Part 1. How they got together and then fell apart. This section dives into how the Trump-Musk alliance first formed and the psychological reasons why it all went south so dramatically. The alliance forms, social identity and group vibes, social identity theory, cooked up by Henri Tajfel, basically, says that how you see yourself isn't just about your personal cool traits or achievements. It's also about the groups you hang with. People want to feel good about themselves, right? So they tend to put themselves and others into in-groups, the folks they belong with, and out-groups, the folks they don't, usually favoring their own crew. Being part of a group can give you a sense of belonging, purpose, and self-worth, making you want to fit in with the group's rules to be accepted. The Trump-Musk alliance totally shows this theory in action. Musk's full support for Trump after that assassination attempt in July 2024. That was like the spark that solidified their in-group feeling. And all those public displays of loyalty from Musk, like showing up at rallies, flying on Air Force One, staying at Mar-a-Lago, and get this, wearing a MAGA hat at cabinet meetings, weren't just friendly gestures. They were strong signals that he was totally identifying with Trump's political in-group. When he got named to lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, it really cemented his role inside the administration's inner circle, giving him a specific social identity as a key player in Trump's agenda. And Trump, in return, publicly hyped Musk up, calling him one of the greatest business leaders and innovators, which boosted Musk's positive social identity within that powerful political crew. Looking at how this alliance formed, it wasn't just personal, it was strategic. Both guys were leveraging each other's social identity and influence for their own gain. The fact that investors bought Tesla stock after Trump's election, betting that politics was more important than profits, and hoping Trump would ease up on regulations and embrace self-driving cars, totally points to a transactional side. Plus, Musk was Trump's biggest donor in the previous campaign, and Musk's companies like SpaceX raked in billions in government contracts. This whole setup suggests the bromance was a strategic alliance where Trump got the endorsement and financial backing of a big-shot billionaire, while Musk got political access, potential regulatory perks, and sweet deals. Their public displays of closeness just amplified this mutual benefit, signaling a powerful in-group to their respective followers and the market. So social identity here wasn't just about belonging. It was about smart positioning and getting something back. The breaking point: cognitive dissonance and shifting realities. Cognitive dissonance theory, cooked up by Leon Festinger, describes that weird mental discomfort you get when your beliefs, values, or attitudes clash, or when your actions don't match what you believe. To shake off that uncomfortable feeling, people usually try to change their beliefs, rationalize what they did, or find info that backs up what they already think. Musk's sudden, super strong break with Trump totally makes sense through this lens. Musk's initial support for the Trump administration and his role in Doge, which was all about cutting government spending and boosting efficiency, set up a bunch of beliefs and a commitment to that whole agenda. But then Trump's big, beautiful bill, even though it promised tax cuts and spending, also planned to roll back clean energy tax credits and was widely slammed for jacking up deficits and being pork-filled. Musk's public smackdown of this bill as a disgusting abomination directly contradicted his earlier alignment with the administration and his stated mission of government efficiency, creating a major cognitive dissonance. Musk's denial that he knew the bill's details: "This bill was never shown to me even once," even though Trump claimed Musk knew every aspect of this bill, could be seen as him trying to rationalize things to ease that dissonance. By saying he was clueless, he could keep his image as a critic of inefficiency, even though he was part of the administration. The timing of his criticism, shortly after Musk's departure from the White House, and just days after the president gave him a cordial send-off in the Oval Office, is super telling. The fact that Musk slammed the bill after leaving the administration, not while he was an advisor, points to him resolving his dissonance once he was out and publicly realigning himself. While Musk was an insider in the Trump administration, he probably felt that cognitive dissonance between his stated principles, government efficiency, fiscal responsibility, and the reality of a pork-filled bill. But the social pressure and perks of being in the in-group likely kept that discomfort in check or made him rationalize it. Once he was out of the White House, the bill's disgusting abomination became unbearable, leading to a public outburst that resolved his internal dissonance by making his public stance match his, now unhindered, beliefs. This shows that the context of a person's social identity can seriously affect how cognitive dissonance is handled, and a change in that context can trigger a dramatic reevaluation and public shift. Part 2. The public battleground. This section breaks down how Trump and Musk publicly duked it out, focusing on how they pointed fingers and fought for who was boss. The blame game: attribution theory in action. Attribution theory explains how people figure out why things happen and why people act the way they do, separating it into internal, like personality traits, and external, like outside circumstances, reasons. People often have biases, like the self-serving bias, where they credit their successes to themselves and their failures to outside stuff. In the Trump-Musk spat, both sides went all in on the blame game. Trump's blame was mostly internal, like, it's about him. He blamed Musk's criticism on Trump derangement syndrome and declared Musk just went crazy. These accusations framed Musk's actions as coming from personal instability or just being irrational. Trump also hinted that Musk's real problem was the bill-cutting electric vehicle subsidies, implying a selfish external, to the bill's qualities, motive related to Tesla's business. Plus, Trump called Musk's actions ingratitude, suggesting a moral failing on Musk's part, again, an internal blame. Musk's blame, on the other hand, focused on external situational factors, while also hyping up his own influence. He credited Trump's election win to his own help. "Without me, Trump would have lost the election," which was an internal, self-flattering attribution of his own importance. As for the bill, he blamed its flaws on it being massive, outrageous, and pork-filled, and passed in the dead of night. These are external, situational blames, pointing fingers at the legislative process and the bill itself, rather than any internal flaw in Trump's leadership or his own previous support. Musk's mention that Trump was in the Epstein files was a move to pin negative external associations on Trump, shifting the focus from the political debate to a personal scandal. The fact that both Trump and Musk immediately started publicly blaming each other using supercharged language shows that these blame games aren't just explanations. They're strategic rhetorical moves meant to control the story and sway public opinion. By labeling Musk's behavior crazy or derangement syndrome, Trump tries to delegitimize Musk's criticism and protect his own image and the bill's integrity. By claiming credit for Trump's election and attacking his character, Musk tries to assert his own power and moral high ground. This highlights how attribution theory plays out in high-stakes public feuds, where the goal is less about objective truth and more about shaping public opinion and maintaining perceived dominance. The fight for who's boss, power dynamics, Foucault and Nietzsche. Understanding the power dynamics in the Trump-Musk spat gets way richer with insights from Michel Foucault and Friedrich Nietzsche. For Foucault, power isn't something you have. It's purely operational and relational. It's exercised through actions which affect other actions. Crucially, Foucault says power needs freedom and resistance. Total domination, like a master-slave thing, isn't power because there's no resistance to overcome. Power also gets legitimized by a set of rules, the order of things. As for Nietzsche, the will to power is a basic drive in all living things, to grow, overcome, and assert themselves. While it's not always about dominating others, in social settings, it often looks like a struggle for influence and control. The Trump-Musk dispute is a clear example of a fight for who's boss, where both guys are trying to assert their will and control the narrative. Trump's direct threats to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts for Tesla and SpaceX are explicit uses of administrative and economic power. He's using his presidential authority to affect other actions, Musk's business interests. On the flip side, Musk's resistance and counterpower are super clear in his actions. His public criticism of the bill, his denial of knowing about it beforehand, his claims of helping Trump win the election, his calls for impeachment, his endorsement of J.D. Vance, and his looking into starting a new political party are all acts of resistance against Trump's authority and attempts to wield his own kind of power, influencing public opinion, political maneuvering. The bomb about the Epstein files is a direct challenge to Trump's legitimacy and an attempt to dominate the public conversation. The dispute itself is a dynamic power play. Trump's threats are met with Musk's defiance, creating the resistance that, according to Foucault, is necessary for power to be exercised. Both individuals are driven by a Nietzschean will to power, an inherent urge to assert their will, control narratives, and overcome perceived challenges. The fact that the power struggle between Trump and Musk is super public, playing out on social media with direct threats and counter-threats, shows how performative power is in the digital age. Digital platforms turn the exercise of power into a highly theatrical act. Threats and counter-threats aren't just private negotiations, they're public declarations designed to show strength and influence. Trump's administrative power, cutting contracts, becomes visible and impactful through his public announcement, immediately hitting Musk's financial situation. Musk's counterpower, impeachment calls, Epstein allegations, gets its strength from its public spread and its potential to sway public opinion. This means that in modern politics, the visibility and speed of digital communication amplify the will to power and make power dynamics a constant public spectacle, where the perceived ability to influence others, Foucault's actions that affect actions, is just as crucial as formal authority. Part 3. Personalities, Platforms, and Persuasion. This section digs deeper into the bigger picture of the spat, looking at the platforms where it played out, the persuasive tricks they used, and the underlying personality traits that might be at play. The digital arena. Habermas's public sphere in the social media age. Jürgen Habermas imagined the public sphere as this ideal place where regular folks could get together to talk rationally and critically about important stuff, forming public opinion that could bridge the gap between society and the government. This ideal space was supposed to be open to everyone, with free assembly and rational discussion, aiming to turn political authority into something rational. The Trump-Musk spat played out almost entirely on social media platforms, specifically X, Musk's platform, and Truth Social, Trump's platform. These platforms acted like the realm of social life in which something close to public opinion can be formed. But the kind of talk happening there was far from Habermas's ideal. It involved personal attacks, Trump derangement syndrome, crazy, Epstein files, threats, and quick, often unverified claims, instead of rational, critical debate about policies. While these platforms offer open access in a broad sense, they're also controlled by their owners. Musk owns X, Trump founded Truth Social, which raises questions about how truly neutral and free the discussion really is. The fact that the dispute is mainly a social media spectacle and that the talk is full of bitter war of words, personal attacks, political threats, and fueling a feud shows how the digital public sphere, despite its potential for wide participation, often totally misses Habermas's ideal of rational, critical discussion. Instead of fostering thoughtful debate, these platforms become arenas for highly personalized, emotionally charged, and often performative conflicts. The rapid spread of info, the lack of gatekeepers, and the push for engagement, often through controversy, all contribute to a public sphere where personal attacks and controlling the narrative trump objective truth or collective problem solving. This points to a big challenge for democratic ideals, as the very space meant for forming public opinion becomes a tool for political warfare and individual brand management, rather than a genuine way to connect society's needs with the government. The art of persuasion, Aristotle's rhetoric in political squabbles. Aristotle pointed out three main ways to persuade people: ethos, which is all about the speaker's credibility, character, and authority; pathos, which taps into the audience's emotions; and logos, which appeals to logic and reason, using facts and arguments. Rhetoric, at its core, is the ability, in each particular case, to see the available means of persuasion. In the Trump-Musk spat, both sides used these persuasive tricks in big ways. Trump's talk often leaned on his presidential ethos: "I've helped Elon a lot." His past relationship with Musk, "Elon and I had a great relationship," and his perceived success, one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. For pathos, he used emotionally charged language like Trump derangement syndrome, such ingratitude, and "he just went crazy," trying to make people feel contempt for Musk and sympathy for himself. While he tried for logos by defending the bill, claiming it would prevent a 68% tax increase, his logical arguments often got drowned out by emotional attacks. Musk's talk, on the other hand, used his ethos as a tech billionaire and innovator and his past political influence. "Without me, Trump would have lost the election." For pathos, he used strong emotional language like disgusting abomination and outrageous to describe the bill, aiming to stir up public outrage. His claim about the Epstein files was a direct hit at Trump's reputation and an attempt at an emotional appeal. For logos, he criticized the bill for being massive, outrageous, and pork-filled, and its impact on the federal deficit, trying to use logical arguments about fiscal responsibility. He also pointed out how unfair it was to cut EV incentives, while oil and gas subsidies stayed untouched. The fact that both Trump and Musk use strong emotional language and rely heavily on their public personas shows that pathos and ethos often win out over logos in digital political fights. The spat is described as a bitter war of words and personal attacks. Musk's Epstein files claim is a clear example of a non-logical, character-based attack, just like Trump's derangement syndrome. In the fast-paced, personality-driven world of social media political disputes, pathos, emotional appeal, and ethos, credibility, character, often beat out logos, logical argument. The goal isn't necessarily to win a debate with facts, but to sway public opinion through emotional resonance, personal attacks, and the speaker's perceived authority or trustworthiness. This suggests that the digital environment encourages a type of rhetoric that's more about performance and emotional manipulation than rational discussion, making it harder for the public to figure out the truth and potentially adding to political polarization. Self-perception. Echoes of narcissism. We're not talking about a clinical diagnosis here, but just looking at how Trump and Musk act in public, you can spot traits that kinda echo what's associated with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. NPD is basically when someone has this huge sense of self-importance, like they're superior, a deep need for tons of admiration, a sense of entitlement, and often, they just don't get other people's feelings. People with narcissistic traits can be super sensitive to criticism or losing, reacting with disdain, defiance, or even faking humility. The Trump-Musk spat totally shows several of these patterns. The grandiosity and need for admiration are clear in Trump's claims of having helped Elon a lot, and his gushing praise for Musk before the breakup, one of the greatest business leaders, followed by a quick put-down, wearing thin, went crazy when he felt betrayed. Musk's bold claim, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election," is a clear sign of grandiosity and a need to prove his own indispensable importance. His comment, "Doge is a way of life," like Buddhism, also hints at an inflated self-perception. Sensitivity. To criticism, defeat is a huge factor in how this spat blew up. Trump immediately labeling Musk's criticism as Trump derangement syndrome and ingratitude is a classic reaction to feeling disrespected, deflecting the criticism by making the critic seem crazy. Musk's equally quick and harsh counterattacks, Epstein files, impeachment calls, show a similar inability to take criticism without a powerful personal counteroffensive. A sense of entitlement seems to run through both their actions. They react strongly when their expectations of loyalty and special treatment aren't met. The fact that the spat is super personal, full of direct insults and big statements, and that the rapid, intense, and very public unraveling of their relationship points to a lack of private resolution, suggests how much public image and ego played a role in escalating the conflict. The public personas of Trump and Musk, who show traits like grandiosity, a deep need for admiration, and extreme sensitivity to criticism, act like accelerators in public conflicts. When a figure's ego feels threatened or disrespected, the response isn't a private chat, but a public, often over-the-top counterattack designed to reassert dominance and control the narrative. This suggests that for people whose identities are deeply tied to public perception and who thrive on admiration, a perceived betrayal or criticism can kick off an intense, ego-driven battle that plays out in the most visible arenas, making private resolution almost impossible and blowing up the conflict for everyone to see. Conclusion: beyond the headlines. So, the breakup between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, this whole public show of friendship and then falling out, is way more than just political gossip. It's actually a super cool case study in psychology and philosophy. By looking at it through the lenses of social identity, cognitive dissonance, attribution theory, power dynamics, Foucault and Nietzsche, Habermas's public sphere, Aristotle's rhetoric, and even hints of narcissism, we can really peel back the layers of what made this beefstick their initial alliance. You can see it as a smart move to build social identity, where both guys got something out of being part of a super visible in-group, and Musk's sudden, strong criticism of Trump's bill after he left the administration. That can be understood as him publicly resolving his cognitive dissonance, where taking away those outside pressures let him realign what he believed with what he did. The war of words that followed was a total blame game, with each guy using strategic accusations to control the story and shape how people saw them, all to keep their own image looking good. The spat is also a living example of Foucault's and Nietzsche's power dynamics. Trump's threats and Musk's pushback show power as this active relationship that needs a challenge, and both guys' will to power comes out in their fight for who's on top. The stage for this battle was the digital public sphere, which, even though it's open to everyone, turned into a battleground of personal attacks and emotional manipulation, far from Habermas's ideal of rational discussion. The persuasive tricks Trump and Musk used, which put pathos and ethos over logos, reflect how performative and emotionally charged persuasion is in the digital age. And finally, personality traits like grandiosity and sensitivity to criticism seem to have acted like fuel, pushing the conflict into the public eye and making it almost impossible to sort out privately. Studying this whole beef gives us bigger insights into modern political relationships and public discourse. It shines a light on how transactional contemporary alliances can be, the psychological pressures public figures deal with, how the public sphere turns into digital battlegrounds, the rhetorical strategies used to sway public opinion, and the undeniable role of ego and personality in high-profile conflicts. By using these analytical tools, we can not only figure out what's behind the headlines, but also navigate the complexities of human behavior and social interactions in a world that's more connected and polarized than ever. If you liked this video, support the channel, like and subscribe. Comment below your thoughts, share this video with those you think would like the content. This helps us grow and help more people. Till the next time.